You're at the end of a meal. The check lands in its little black folder, you flip it open, glance at the total, and your thumb hovers over the tip line. 18%, 20, 22. Nobody told you to do this, you just know. But have you ever stopped to wonder, why 20%? Why are we the country that does this when most of the world doesn't? And how did a number that nobody officially picked become a rule everyone follows? If you've ever wondered how a folded receipt became a quiet national contract, you're about to uncover a little piece of history hiding inside everyday life, and it goes much deeper than "we're just generous." The answer goes back about 400 years, crosses an ocean twice, and almost got outlawed in your own country. To understand why your thumb hovers over 20%, we have to leave the restaurant and go back to a country that doesn't really tip anymore, England. Picture a 17th century London tavern. Low ceilings, candle smoke, a wooden bench worn smooth by decades of elbows. A gentleman finishes his ale, drops a small coin into the hand of the boy who fetched it, and walks out without a word. That small coin is the seed. The word tip itself comes from that era, Old English slang meaning roughly to hand over, quick, quiet, transactional. Over the next 2 centuries, that habit drifted upward. By the 1800s, European aristocrats had turned tipping into something between an art and an obligation. You tipped the hotel porter, the carriage driver, the man who took your coat. It was a fluent social language, proof you knew the rules. The smallest customs travel the farthest because they hide inside ordinary moments. And then wealthy Americans started crossing the Atlantic. After the Civil War, a generation of newly rich Americans went to Europe on the Grand Tour. They came back with luggage covered in hotel stickers, and they came back with tipping. They handed coins to porters at home the way they'd seen it done in Paris and London. It was a status flex, a way to broadcast that you understood refined travel. You might have heard that the word tips stands for to ensure prompt service. It's a charming story. It's also almost certainly not true. The acronym was invented long after the word. Tip had been kicking around English slang for centuries before anyone tried to backfit it into a polite explanation. Which means the thing you do at every dinner, the thing that feels deeply, almost stubbornly American, didn't start here at all. It's European. We imported it. That alone should land sideways. The country now famous for tipping more than anyone else in the world picked the habit up secondhand, like a souvenir nobody could quite figure out how to put down. And not everyone wanted to keep it. As tipping spread through American hotels and restaurants in the late 1800s and early 1900s, a real backlash formed. Critics called it un-American, a European hangover, anti-democratic. The idea that some customers got better service because they could afford to grease a palm felt wrong in a country that liked to think of itself as classless. There were essays, pamphlets, an entire organized anti-tipping movement. And then they actually did something about it. 6 American states banned tipping. Between the 1910s, Washington, Mississippi, Iowa, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas all passed laws making it illegal to leave a gratuity. Picture that for a moment. The country now most associated with tipping once made the act of doing it a crime. The laws didn't last. By the mid-1920s, all of them had been quietly repealed, unenforceable, unpopular with restaurant owners, and already overrun by the custom itself. And then the structure hardened. In 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act, the law that set the federal minimum wage, eventually allowed a lower wage for workers who received tips. Suddenly, tipping wasn't just a custom anymore. It was wired into how restaurant work got paid. The customer wasn't just thanking the server. The customer was helping cover the wage. From there, the number crept upward. Mid-century, 10% was standard. By the 1980s, 15. By the 2000s, 20. Today, tens of billions of dollars a year move through American tip lines, a parallel wage system that exists almost nowhere else on Earth. Which brings us back to the screen at the end of your meal. Because here's the part most people don't realize. The 20% number is brand new. Your grandparents probably tipped a dime on the dollar and felt generous doing it. The default you treat as obvious is younger than most of the songs on the radio. And then the pandemic hit. Touchscreens spread to coffee counters and self-checkouts, and the prompts crept onto things nobody used to tip on at all. Tip creep, as it's now called, is still actively rewriting the rule. Which raises the obvious question. If Americans once banned tipping, why didn't it stick? The answer is almost funny. The laws didn't lose on principle, they lost on logistics. You can't police a folded bill slipped under a coffee cup. The custom won by being uncatchable. And the other question people always ask, why don't other countries do this? The short answer is that most of them patched the problem a different way. They built service into wages or onto the bill as a flat charge. They never let the customer become the payroll department. It's not that the rest of the world is stingy, it's that America improvised and the improvisation hardened into furniture. So 20% isn't really a tradition, it's a fossil of three-layered decisions nobody alive ever made. A custom America borrowed from Europe, tried to ban, and then quietly fused to its own paychecks. The next time you flip open that black folder and your thumb drifts toward the screen, you'll see what's underneath it. 400 years of borrowed etiquette, a failed prohibition, a wage law from 1938, all of it sitting in one small line at the bottom of a receipt. Thank you for watching. If you have ideas for our next video, drop them in the comments below. Drop a tip, you might say. We promise this one's optional. Thanks for joining us for another piece of heirloom history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more of the things Americans do every day and almost never stop to question.